Everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. We've been talking to Carol Hughes, who is the author of Home Will Never Be the Same Again, a guide for adult children of gray divorce. And so this is part three of a four-part series, and we're talking about supporting your children during the divorce. And one of the things that you said in the second segment is that, as a parent, your role is not to be a confidant, therapist, best friend. And don't burden your children with your own issues that you have. Figure out stuff, if you're feeling a sense of shock and surreal disorientation from finding out information, your children are feeling the same. You don't necessarily pile on that information and share that with your children. Because I want to understand now from the perspective of the child, when you do become, they have to like hold your feelings and their own, then what's their felt experience of that?
Right. Well, as we tell parents, once a parent, always a parent. The child is always your child, even if your child is an adult child. So you just said it very well, CJ. Don't pile it on. Don't pile your feelings on to your adult children, because likely what the adult children report they're feeling is caught in the middle, one between the parents. Who should I side with? I shouldn't have to side with the parent, either parent, caught in the middle of their own life. Maybe they're married, they have children too, if they do. Where does all my energy go? And I have a job, maybe. I don't. And so I'm feeling really conflicted here. Um, and so one of the things that we tell the adult children to say, if the parents do cross that boundary and start trying to use them to align with them against the other parent, use them as their therapist, their dating buddy, whatever, to say, mom or dad, I love you. I love you very much. I want to keep a great relationship with you. And I'm not equipped to handle all this with you. I'm not a professional. I really hear how much you're hurting and disoriented or whatever it is the parent says they're feeling. And I really hope you would be willing to work with someone. I'm not saying you're crazy, quote. I'm saying this is a time when I think you really need help that I'm not equipped to give.
So how about of a child? So I can see that's a perfect answer too, because it's kind of like, I just can't deal with this right now. I love you, I want the best for you, but I can't hold these roles for you. And a lot of this, the 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 belief is that the kids shouldn't have to be burdened with this. And so I'm trying to trade that off with maybe the other 50% who believe like it's about having authentic, real um, expressions. Because if you're already feeling like I was living in a sham, and all of a sudden the parent's not really telling you what's really happening, um, is there a disservice in doing that? I mean, is it make the kid feel like what's real? Like my parent is like kind of like I'm trying to like build sense of understanding and I feel like I'm reaching the door and I'm just getting like a kind of like I can't help, like I'm like kind of like the authoritarian kind of like I can't give you the answers that you want. I'm going to not tell you the full truth, which is what they've been experiencing all along. So, is there any harm in doing that as well? Not being authentic or real or
I think there are a lot of trade offs, CJ. There's the trade off of having healthy boundaries, and then there's the trade off of, quote, not being genuine or real, and what's appropriate. And that comes back to the age, the boundaries with the children. Um, you know, it would be nice to say there's a one size fits all. I don't think there is. We wrote about what we know as therapists for all the years we've been, doing this work, and what seems to work best for the adult children and for the parents. But in general, again, the research, the little bit that there is, said over and over, the adult children want to simply be able to have their life with their parents, their relationship with their parents, and they're not ignorant, they're grown-ups by now. They could probably guess that things have happened, but do they want to know all the gory details? Not if they have healthy boundaries, they don't.
Mm,
Really, think about it. You know, I'm not talking to you per se, CJ, but
right.
parents, let's think about this here. You know, your children do have their own lives. They aren't your care, they aren't your caretaker. Maybe if you're 80 or something, maybe they are. But over and over, adult children say to us and other therapists and in the research, I don't want to know this. Ooh,
Mm,
ooh, my parent needs to work with a professional, a nurse, someone other than me. I'm the child here, even though I'm an adult. Now, maybe these children don't have good boundaries themselves and, they're the caretakers of the world. Then they want to know, but it's still not healthy for them in general.
ah, okay, got it. Okay, so want to go into other kinds of issues like we're talking about there was this huge age range, right? From like empty nesting to married with children to like even having great, like there's all this huge age range. So I'm wondering, in the case when what happened for people that I know, like they actually got their parents remarried when they're out of, in college. And then there are all sorts of like, they never lived together as a family. And so there's all this like, which traditions, there's this issue with not really ever understanding the other family. And then it's like, oh, we're the Brady Bunch. Oh, let's live together and be happy. Why can't we just be happy? Um, that kind of energy. Um, what do parents need to understand about this scenario of like merging families that had kids together and this kind of like now you're one family and it doesn't, you never were raised as one family, so it doesn't feel quite right.
Right, that's a very good question. Um, I use the analogy that I learned from a colleague who's an expert in step parents. Patricia Papernell, she's mentioned in the book. She says that we have that term in our field, blended families, and it's not like you can put, two families that didn't grow up together, just as you were saying. There's the Italians and the Koreans, let's
Right,
say, that like the bananas and the strawberries and you put them in
right.
a blender and they all become blended. That isn't how relationships are. So parents need to understand that, and maybe from the parents perspective they're happy, they're in a new relationship, it's wonderful, et cetera. Maybe even the new spouses children are very accepting of this new marriage, but their own adult children are not. There are usually reasons for that, and the parents need to understand that and maybe ask their adult children, what are you really feeling about this? It's okay to be completely truthful. I'll do my best to listen and not judge and tell you how you ought to be feeling. But the research with step parents, which is for decades, probably 40 years worth of research on step families, is that it isn't the Brady Bunch. It isn't all happy in the majority of cases, and it takes a long time for those relationships to build, if they ever do. But these are
Hmm.
new relationships, and as Dr. Daniel Siegel says from UCLA Mindfulness Research Institute, we quote him in the book a lot too. Relationships are what humans are all about. It's being human, period. And parent, you picked this new person, and this new person picked you to be happy and in love and all, but your adult children did not. They don't have a relationship with this person.
So
And if
what
they
are some,
have
how does that express when people are talking to you in terms of the reasons that or issues that they may have as children when they're like, what are their common issues that they have now with this blended family?
right. I'm happy for my parent if he or she is happy, but I really don't know these people. I don't really want to share my holiday times with these people. It feels like an intrusion. I don't feel like I belong. If they have their own children, they want to maybe have their own holiday and celebratory traditions, which should be fine. They don't want to be put in a blender. That's a very common, common thing that they will say. And
Yeah.
yet I feel guilty. I want to support my mom or dad. I want them to be happy. But I'm feeling kind of resentful that they're expecting me to come to their house on, whatever holidays it is. And I'd rather be with my own friends or my own family if I have a family with my own children. It feels forced.
Mm. Okay,
Um,
is that the main reason, or are there other types of things that happen?
well, sometimes the new spouse it comes out that that's the person they were having the affair with. Or
Oh,
maybe the new person was the adult children's soccer coach in high school, or one of
oh,
their friends' moms or dads. Ooh, they'll
right.
say, oh my gosh, there are all these relationships. This person was my mom's best friend, and now she's married to my dad, or vice versa. It's like, this is too much. I just, life's too short. I don't want to, it just feels weird.
I see. So this actually makes more sense because you talk about in the book a sense of abandonment or loneliness, and so in that particular case, it's like, well, I don't want to have Thanksgiving with
Mm-hmm.
my new blended family, with
Right.
my new previous soccer coach mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that person is like, well, maybe one of their siblings is okay, you're not okay, then how do you handle those relationships? I mean, so you may want to see your sister or you may want to see your dad, but you don't want to see your new previous soccer coach mom, stepmom.
Mm-hmm.
How do people manage? Because now there's, different variations, or you'd like to see your sister and your dad, but not this. How does one manage all these kind of complexities?
Right. The adult children you're talking about now, right?
Yeah, yeah, because I
Yeah,
can see that scenario being very uncomfortable.
yeah, right. It is very uncomfortable. Well, first of all, adult children need to understand that what they're feeling is valid and not be judged for what they're feeling, because at the core of healthy relationships is that you value being together, and usually there's a history, or the history builds, the relationship builds. And so if they could ask their parents permission, quote, permission to be with whomever they want to be on these holiday celebrations, and give themselves permission to be with whomever they want. This is their life as well, the adult children's lives. And maybe they want to go, skiing with their own adult friends for the holiday traditions. They can make their own new traditions, but they need to realize that they can give themselves permission. It would be nice if the parents gave them permission too. But these are all families in transition. They aren't frozen, like freeze dried or in cement. And that's a big mistake that the parents make, is expecting these new relationships that they're in to work well for their adult children. It's great if they can, but they need to have dialogue with their adult children about this. And adult children have dialogue with the parents too.
Okay, so let's actually go through Thanksgiving, which is coming up, and
Yeah,
Christmas, which are the main, like, so
right.
you feel guilty because you want your dad or mom to be happy, yet they're with someone who you don't want to be in this blended family situation. How do you say it without hurting your parent or your siblings or the new, because there's several relationships, right? There's the new sister, stepsister that you have, your existing sister, and your father, let's say, in this
Right.
particular situation. Well, how do you even tell everyone? Because there's several relationships that you're managing and want to keep
Mm-hmm.
good.
Right. You ask a good question, because it's important for the listeners to understand that we can communicate in a healthy way. That doesn't mean that the other person who's hearing our communication won't be hurt. So it's not a linear situation like
Right.
that, as I'm sure you know. So again, the best is to say what's true for yourself, adult child. I love you, mom or dad. I love you, sister. Step sister. I don't want to hurt your feelings, and I might be hurting your feelings. What I'm saying is, uh, I'm not going to be able to do this Thanksgiving celebration this year. This is all too soon for me. I'm feeling a lot of conflicted feelings. I need some time away to process what I'm feeling. Please don't take it personally because it really isn't. It might feel personal to you. I'm talking about where I am right now, and I'm not going to be able to participate in Thanksgiving this year. Maybe next year,
All right,
something
so
like
you
that.
always leave the door open for maybe,
Mhm.
because as you're saying, this is an evolving thing. So maybe
Yes.
this year when it's fresh, it's like I
Mhm.
can't do it. Maybe next year, can we revisit this next year? It could
Right.
be a permanent thing where like, I realize I actually don't like any of you. I don't want to blend
Yes,
with any of
yes,
you.
yes, that happens. Yes, yes. You know, the good news, CJ, because it's all negative news here. The good news in the research, the little bit that there is, I keep saying that, is that even for the adult children that became estranged from their parents, because the parents didn't understand, had bad boundaries, things we've been talking about, after about 5 years, the majority of those adult children reached out to their parents and said, "Can we talk? Can we
Mm,
go? Can we work on our relationship? Can we go see a therapist together?" Something like that, and did reunify. So
mm,
that's a very
yeah.
and it talks about the strength of the attachment bonds that parents and children have throughout the lifetime.
Right, I love it. So we've been talking to Carol Hughes, the author of Home Will Never Be the Same Again, a guide for adult children of gray divorce. Thank you.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.